The Ancient Magus Bride is a show I like a lot. The first half alone was so good that it was an easy lock for my second favorite anime of 2017. But whenever I talk about this show, or I see other people talk about it, there's always a massive elephant in the room that doesn't get addressed very often. That being what the show has to say about buying and selling people as property, and how that relates to the show's larger message about understanding the worth of a person. See, the main character is a girl named Chisei, who's had a really shitty life. Her dad walked out on their family, her mom tried to strangle her to death before taking her own life while Chisei watched, she was dumped by foster families, and she was born able to see fey creatures, which left her open to endless torment by invisible monsters that made everyone think she was a crazy freak. By the time she's a teenager, she decides to sell herself into slavery because at least then she'd have a home. The guy who buys her is a creature named Elias, who intends for her to be his apprentice, and his wife, and his tool to learn more about humans. And I want to focus on Elias first, because almost everything problematic about this show is attempted to be answered by the fact that Elias isn't human and doesn't understand human things. He's your boilerplate character that needs to learn what emotions are that you've seen 100 times. He didn't realize that buying a person is bad, he just thought it was a good opportunity to learn about people by going out and getting one of his own. And the thing about this approach, the thing that let me give them the benefit of the doubt right up until the very last episode, is that this can live or die by how it ends. Elias starts the series here, thinking this, believing this is okay. But by the end, does he have a character journey that makes him a better person and evolves his way of thinking? No, he doesn't. In fact, he arguably gets worse, as he thinks it's perfectly okay to use this 10-year-old girl as a human sacrifice. His character growth moves at an utterly glacial pace. So while he does exhibit small signs of change over the course of the story, he's still pretty much the exact same person by the end that he was in the beginning. Elias doesn't learn or change very much, and any slight improvements he does make tend to be centered exclusively on Chisei, and not people in general. And even then, he still thinks of her as his property. And when Elias does something awful, Chisei either just accepts it or lets him off with a slap on the wrist. Which does make sense for her character. She's so afraid of being thrown away again that she doesn't want to dwell on anything that might upset him. And frankly, Chisei spends most of this show believing that she doesn't deserve any better. Every level-headed character in this series at some point tells Chisei how messed up it is, that she seems okay with the way things are between her and Elias. But her reasons for accepting all of it run deep and are the main conflict she has to overcome. Chisei's character arc is absolutely wonderful. Trauma like this doesn't just go away, and the fact that she matters is something that Chisei has to slowly build up to letting herself accept. All of her poor decisions feel justified, and all of her steps forward feel earned. This is an example of a fantastical work of fiction directly talking about something real that impacts the lives of actual people, presenting it in an honest way that's as insightful as it is respectful. And watching it only serves to highlight how poorly the show mishandled Elias. By the end, they're supposed to have reached this new plateau in their relationship, and I believe it in regards to Chisei. She's taken that journey. It may feel like she reached this point too soon, but it still makes sense that she'd arrive here. But Elias barely went anywhere. From what I understand, the second half of this series is a pretty rushed adaptation of its manga source material, so maybe that accounts for all of this. I don't know, I haven't read the manga. But even if that's the reason, it doesn't change the fact that the end of this show kind of tarnishes Chisei's achievement, having her continue to abide Elias's behavior. She fulfills the title and becomes his bride, rewarding him for not really changing at all. When it comes to Chisei and her story and her development, the show is almost perfect, and deals with personal trauma in a powerful and healthy way that I think everyone should see. When it comes to Elias and his story and his development, the show fails hard. So hard that it taints the whole experience and takes away some of the good from Chisei's accomplishment. I wondered from the start how this show would reconcile the fact that it began with one main character buying the other at a slave auction. And it turns out they don't. It's looked back on as a fortunate thing, since it's what brought these two together. And that's horrific. Not to mention completely inappropriate for a story that's all about learning to value someone as a worthwhile human being. The show did absolutely nothing to condemn this behavior, which didn't even need to be part of the story, and served no purpose other than to condone something horrible. I really mean it when I say that this series is worth watching from beginning to end just for Chisei's story, and might even be able to help someone work through some of their own issues. But everything outside of Chisei's story functions as a cold, heavy chain around the neck of this entire show. Thank you guys for watching. I'll talk to you again soon.